I am very pleased to have today Laura Chite. Laura is spent part of her career running marketing for Microsoft in East Africa, then went on to run as CEO, CIO Africa, and most recently came over to be the Chief Commercial Officer here at StepWise. I'll tell just a short story before we have our conversation. I met you in January of this year. And it was one of those lunches. There were probably 6 or 7 of us at lunch. Actually, it started even before lunch. It was fairly early. It's like 11 o'clock or something we met.
Yes, yes.
By noon, I think we were on our 2nd bottle of Chardonnay. And I don't think we stopped until about 3 that afternoon.
Yep.
I didn't realize it at the time, but apparently I was the first meeting out of your home that you'd taken since COVID hit. So I felt even more honored that you had taken that meeting. Several months later, we get a call saying, you know what, I think maybe I want to come work with you guys. I'd love to hear more about how that decision came about. An extremely successful woman in technology in Africa. Was technology always something that was interesting to you as a young person? When did you start getting into technology? What drew you to it?
Thank you, Chris. And it's a pleasure to join the StepWise family. I must tell you, this is one of the most exciting times of my life. First of all, I am an economics graduate, okay? And I remember when I was in university, I would see this lab with machines and people would walk in and out of that lab. And my friends and I would ask each other, what are they doing? That happens to have been the computer lab, okay? So they had opened a computer lab in the university. They were trying to encourage people to pick up computer skills so that you're ready for the workplace. But we were just not interested. Fast forward, I graduate and I get a job and I get this thing put in front of me at my desk. I don't even know how to power it on. I go and ask the technology guys. I'm like, this thing, I don't know what to do. I've lifted it up. Nothing is happening. It's not coming on. So the guys asked me, have you hit the power switch?
So you're the person. When you call tech support and they ask you, have you plugged it in? You're the reason they ask.
Typical. In fact, I should be the meme for that, to be honest, you know. But slowly with time, I learned how to use this device, and I just got so hooked to technology after that. Never done any kind of formal training around technology. Worked with Microsoft for so many years. Was part of the business development team, part of the communications team, part of the marketing team across sub-Saharan Africa, and that just excited me. And I think what excited me so much about technology was it's dynamic. This year you're doing this, next year you're doing something different, You're getting all this interesting feedback from the ground. Africans, initially, we were not very receptive to technology, but with time, we started realizing the power of technology, especially with regards to delivering services, scaling, governments started embracing technology, and just the power of seeing what technology was doing in terms of transforming the lives of my people in my continent and me being part of that journey was very exciting. And I said to myself, I think I found my baby. This is my love affair, and here it starts, and here I am today.
Microsoft, what was that experience like? What were you doing at that time?
So my thing at Microsoft started in a very interesting way. I had friends who worked there, and they were looking for somebody to do some work for them in terms of running campaigns. I was available, and they called me in to work with them. That time it was a very small office. I think we were about 4 people. They had just opened in East Africa. And the interesting thing is that as I was working with my friends, they were so patient with me through that journey. And I think it was also part of the culture of the organization. Technology companies are very flexible in the way they do their things. You're given space to make mistakes, You're given the space to learn from your mistakes. You're allowed to express yourself, and you're allowed to learn new things that you can apply, okay, and give ideas, which was great for me because I think from a personality perspective, I'm very vocal. So for me to be stifled in a space that I can't express myself, let's say I got into a job with, I don't know, maybe any other stringent organization, I think my career would have suffered. I would never have grown. So just to get the opportunity to work with friends who understood my personality, who were patient enough for me, and I was in an organization where I could continue to grow as a young person and move around from one department to the next. I was in marketing, I was in business development, I did some kind of sales. It was exciting. And then in terms of training opportunities, open to all staff members. That flexibility and that agility I found very exciting. And then that thing every day where no 2 days are the same. And then we were trying to grow the market. So the growth of the market was actually very satisfying from a personal perspective. So in fact, at this point, as we're talking about Microsoft, I'd just like to thank, some of the people who walked the journey with me. I have my very good friend called Tonya Kariuki, who was amazing with me, patient with me. We learned technology together. There's a good other friend of mine called Louis Otieno, who was the general manager for Microsoft then, who just believed in me. And one of the things that he said he loved so much about me was I was so open and candid about my feedback. Before something goes wrong, I come and communicate and tell you, listen, look out for this. I had a manager called Andrew Waititu who was amazing. He was in charge of the channel. He had been in technology for some time, but he was such a patient manager that we were able to grow together and complement each other from a business perspective.
Great to hear you had such wonderful mentors. We hear a lot in the States about the challenges that women face in technology. I imagine you face similar challenges. What was your experience early on? Has it changed?
So Microsoft had this initiative around women in technology. And we were asked as the Africa region to start our own women in technology chapter, okay? And we had several ladies who volunteered to run with the Women in Technology program for Microsoft. It was called Women of WECA because WECA was West, East, and Central Africa. And that was our Women in Tech program. And we would do all sorts of things where there was a lot of investments coming through. How do we support women to grow in their careers? How are we giving back to the society as women? And then how are we encouraging girls in school to pick up STEM programs, okay? So we would spend a lot of time with girls and our fellow women just discussing technology issues and trying to present our Women in Tech agenda so that we get more and more support. So that was my first experience around women in technology. And I always say about women in technology, we always forget that there's so many careers in technology. You don't have to be a hardcore technical person. I'm a woman in technology as a marketer. You will find a woman in technology in finance, in HR. So it's, there are many careers within that space. But how do we make sure all these women in tech are growing? So you'll find the women in technology, maybe in finance or in marketing, are growing in their careers. But the ones who are in hardcore technology are not growing. And this is one of the things that I experienced when I now left Microsoft, because I think at Microsoft, I had taken it for granted that so many women were growing in their careers. So I assumed it's the same everywhere. Then I leave Microsoft and I join CIO Africa. And as I'm engaging in CIO Africa, I realized that there were less than 5 women in senior positions in technology in East Africa. That was
in East Africa, not just Kenya.
Yeah, in East Africa. That was a red flag for me. So I did some kind of research and dipstick analysis and all that, and I found out that the things that stop women from growing in their careers from a technology perspective into leadership positions, it's amazing what they are. First of all, culture plays a big role for us women, okay? Secondly, we have issues around soft skills. We don't know how to express ourselves. We don't know how to pitch. We don't know how to present our personalities. We don't know how to build our personal brands. If we're negotiating for salary, we don't know how to do it. So, but from a technical skills perspective, we have invested so much. If you look at certification for certification between a man and a woman, women actually even have double than men have, but the men are in senior positions.
Okay.
So what is the issue there? We don't interview well. We don't market ourselves within the workplace. The other thing is that we don't have networking opportunities amongst each other. So as women in technology, how do I make sure that you, Chris, if you're a fellow woman in tech, I have access to you? Where do we network? If you're a senior lady in tech and maybe you're entry level or mid management, how do I get access to you? Okay, so we had to create an environment where the women would network amongst each other and feel equal enough to engage each other. Finally, mentorship. Who is mentoring women in technology? Do we have a network where we mentor each other to grow within the space? So this is what made me come together with a couple of ladies and gents, and we started a Women in IT leadership program called Hanovation that is powered by CIO Africa. And it is amazing to see how many women signed up into this program. and how women were so hungry to participate in this program. The first year we started the program, which was about 4 years ago, we started with about 50 women who attended our first session out in Naivasha. The second year, I walked into the room, there were 250 women who had traveled all the way to Naivasha to attend the session. I have never been so overwhelmed in my life. Never been so overwhelmed, because I was sure we were going to have maybe 80 to 100. It got to a point where we got the hotel, they were running in and out of the room, adding chairs, opening, the way they have the barriers to, it was just so overwhelming. Women are beginning to think about their brands. Women are growing in their careers into IT leadership positions, okay? We've gotten to a point where we are actually having large corporates in the region calling us and asking us, can you refer a woman for this position? This is amazing. And they're leadership positions. For me, this is personal satisfaction. And when I think about it, I'm like, the impact that this program has had on women, how much more can I do as Laura, okay? You start a program and let people embrace it and run with it. What else can you do to change and transform lives? And this is why, for me, anything that I do with regards to my career, it has to have impact. It has to have impact. Because impact is where I feel the satisfaction deep within and the passion to wake up and do something that I love every day.
I'm sure some people don't know what CIO Africa is. Can you explain a little bit about what the organization does and how you integrated a woman in tech focus within that? And then I guess you brought up culture. How much of the change are you seeing, do you think, is sort of being pushed by women? And how much of it do you think is men starting to recognize we need to pull a little bit as well?
CIO Africa is a company that focuses on technology marketing, if I'm to put it as simply as possible. I know my former directors will not be happy to hear that, but that's basically what CIO Africa does. CIO Africa is the company that connects solution providers to the end user. We create that bridge so that if you're an organization and you're seeking a solution, CIO Africa is the organization that has the platform with all the solution providers. It's like going to the supermarket or doing your online shopping. Get in there with your shopping basket and you go and you're like, this is the accounting solution I want. This is the e-commerce solution I want. This is the cybersecurity solution I want. You put them all in one basket, then you go to the checkout counter. CIO Africa has all those. Within all that, there's always the issue of how you are the solution provider here, how do I get to the end user? So through certain programs or tactical activities, CIO Africa was able to connect to the end users. Magazine, technology summits, website, digital marketing, everything that's happening today. That's CIO Africa. And I'm so proud that the organization grew from CIO East Africa to CIO Africa within my time. And I wish them all the best in the next phase of the journey. They've taken over the continent. Fantastic for them. And we'll always be here to support them. Even as StepWise, we'll be here to support them. Women in tech. So I get into this organization and I find it's fully a man fest, okay? And I'm like, no. Women must get involved in this journey.
Did you know, so when you're interviewing for the job, obviously, because you leave Microsoft to go there, did you have that sense even as you were, like, did you know what you were getting into?
Yes and no. I sort of knew what I was getting into because I knew technology is a men's career, okay? And you know, Microsoft was unique because we were trying to push the women agenda in there. So yes and no, I knew. But I didn't know it was that bad. CIO East Africa as an organization actually has quite a number of ladies working in there, which is fantastic. But the market in which they engage is full of men. So that had to change. Because, you know, diversity is important, especially from a thinking perspective, from a solution perspective, from a delivery perspective, okay? From an engagement perspective. It is important to have diversity because, not in a bad way, Chris, but women think differently. We have a social way of thinking and we listen. We listen. So before we jump up and say something, we've listened and we try to read between the lines. Men and your confidence, you thump your chest, you know everything, you know. So you're there spewing facts and but you're not thinking about how you're spewing the facts and what you're talking about and what's the impact of what you're saying. So you're smart and you're talking a lot, but is it relevant at that point? So we help ground you guys. I think the African culture, the way we are brought up, we're not supposed to talk where men are. We're not supposed to sit where men are. And this is in our subconscious. In as much as many of us grew up in the urban area, we don't realize that maybe when we go and visit our grandparents in the rural areas, this culture is still there. Even maybe the way our mothers behave, where our fathers are, our uncles in front of our aunties, they still serve them. You walk into a meeting and you find that the lady is the one who's taking the notebook to take the meeting minutes. Why? Because as far as we've been brought up, our work is to serve the men. But we don't realize we are placing ourselves in the back of the room. You walk into a room, it's full, you sit in the back of the room. Your voice is not being heard. When you comment and contribute to a conversation around a table, you're so nervous the way you're expressing yourself that a guy will say, what Laura meant to say, that drives me nuts. And the guy runs away with my idea. So the reason why I started this program was because I wanted women to have the confidence to present themselves with clarity around what you're trying to say. And that's why the Women in IT Leadership program started. Because I would reach out to the ladies and tell them, we have a conference coming up. I need you to come and speak about the amazing thing you're doing within your organization. They would be shy. And they would nominate a guy to come and do it. Why? And you're the one running the program. So how do we coach them in public speaking skills? So, you partner with organizations like Toastmasters so that women can start talking publicly with confidence, okay? You start telling women, it's okay to be on stage in your red lipstick. You're a woman. Express yourself in your heels. It's okay. It doesn't mean you're less smarter. You don't have to wear jeans because you're in technology. No, embrace your womanhood. So those are the kind of things that we started doing, and I felt it was important. And today, if you look at how many women participate in CIO Africa, in events and engagements, the number has grown tremendously. On top of that, we introduced a Women in IT Leadership Award because a lot of the awards were being submitted by men and the men would win the awards. So you would only see women getting on stage when it's a team award. We now started saying, how do women differentiate themselves with the amazing projects they do? So we introduced a Women in IT Leadership Award, which was first awarded last year. You talked about who is pushing the culture change. Interestingly enough, it is the men. Because they strongly believe that with women sitting with them at the same table, there is a difference in the tone and in the delivery, in the commitment, in the understanding of customer needs and service delivery.
It's good for business.
It's good for business.
Right.
At the end of the day, it's good for business. And then the most interesting thing, if you look at most of the countries in Africa today, it is important for them to have diversion and inclusion in their organizations. So how do we not only talk about it, but make it happen? So a lot of companies have a program around diversity and inclusion, which I love. And for me, the most important thing right now is how do we help these organizations as StepWise achieve their diversion and inclusion quota?
Where does your confidence come from? You clearly do not lack in confidence in raising your voice. Can you pinpoint it, or is it just this is how you came?
So interesting enough, when I was at Microsoft, I was not this confident.
Okay.
Because what happens with the large organizations is it's very clear where you are and what you do, how you do delivery and all those things. If you're going to have spokespeople in a certain way, like all that. When I joined CIO Africa, the chairman of CIO Africa, who's Harry, I joined the company maybe 2 weeks. By week 3, they had a big conference and he told me, you're going on stage to do the keynote. I'm like, oh my God, I can't do this thing. The guy was like, Laura, you're going to do it. You're the new CEO of the company. You will do it. And there I was thrown into the deep end and I found my voice. When I got off stage, I remember a few of the gentlemen who I used to interact with when I was Microsoft were shocked. They told me, oh, you have a voice, you can speak. I said, well, yes, but the big organization just has, there's a plan around how you can do things. And then the ladies came and told me, you have inspired us.
That's it.
And I said to myself, I guess there's a day when something new comes out about you. So this is my new skill, and I'm using my voice to just make sure that I get as many women as possible, okay, onto my side or onto this other side, so they're able to express ourselves, so we're all able to express ourselves and make a difference in the world.
I really think that's what excites me, is the ability to give others opportunity, right? That I hear this all the time from our staff, particularly our staff who are differently abled, who just say, you know, we just want an opportunity, we just want a chance. Don't treat us differently. And it can't be, or it often can't be, that it's simply, okay, push you in the deep end. You've also got to be there with the life jacket, be there ready to help. But recognizing, and I don't know if you can tell what your boss saw in you that gave him the confidence to say, nope, you're going to do this.
I think he's a madman. That's my bottom line. I mean, you can't just have a new hire and get them in front of your audience, you know.
But he saw something in you.
Definitely, he saw something in me that I never saw in myself all my years. In fact, I keep telling young people, when you get into the employment market, change your career every 3 to 5 years. Okay, try a business, start a business, fail, change jobs, fail, learn something new. Do something that you've never done before, because this is the only way you can discover other talents in you that have got nothing to do with going to school. We all have natural talents that we must explore, and we don't know we have them unless we challenge ourselves. When I got on board StepWise, I told you, I'm nervous. I don't know if I can do this. And you told me, Laura, it's different. We'll figure it out. So we're going to figure it out. But it's a new challenge that wakes me up at 4 in the morning, and I'm like, for once, I jog at 6 in the morning. I've never done this, but I need to clear my mind to be able to face another day and do something different and amazing, you know? So I think it is so important to ably, you know, to help out those who are challenged and disadvantaged in the community, to get them to the next level, because all of us have something special within us that we must share with the world to make a difference. We must be given that opportunity. We must be given that opportunity. And it is not fair to be given that opportunity because you think you understand who is different and who is not different. Who decided that? It's not right. It's equal play for all of us. So as they say in COVID, flatten the curve.
Oh, wouldn't it be great if we could take back that phrase from its awful meaning?
I know, right?
You just explained your advice to people is to change careers, give yourself a challenge. You are living your advice. How'd you come to this decision? Like, what's driving this?
At the beginning of this year, after having a whole year of COVID last year, where we were all locked in and we had to be agile, adapt to the new way of doing things, I really started thinking deeply about my life. And I started thinking, I was like, what can I do differently? Because I realized that in the year of a pandemic, I was able to keep a business running, profitable, and not lay off anybody, and still have a major impact in the market, and still have customers believe in us and follow us. You know?
Well, and if you think about your business model in 2019 was live events.
Exactly. You know? So here we are, virtual, digital, and we're still doing great business. So I started thinking to myself, I was like, Laura, this is impact. And what more can you do? I started thinking also about women in technology. This is impact. So I said to myself, I think this year I have to do things differently. Okay? I don't want to have a New Year's resolution. It's giving myself unnecessary pressure, because I always break them by week 2 or 24 hours later, you know, where you've drunk too much champagne and you're like, I'll never drink again. But this is what you're going to have. You'll have a champagne breakfast. You know, this is standard on New Year's Eve, on New Year's Day, the 1st of January or 2nd of January, depending on how long New Year's goes for. So I said to myself, I'm going to have power words that will drive me this year. Okay, so I chose 3 different things. I chose gratitude, and I said, I'm going to say thank you to everyone who does something for me, no matter how big or small it is. I have to be thankful. Don't take things for granted. Never take things for granted, okay? Second thing was boundaries. And the reason why I chose boundaries was because last year, when everybody was struggling through the pandemic, my home became like the home for everybody because people just needed space to breathe. They couldn't go to their offices, but they could go visit their friends. But I realized I was permanently entertaining and I just didn't have time for myself. So I said, I'm going to put in boundaries. And then finally, I said impact. And the reason why I chose impact was because of what I'd done from a business perspective. I also looked at how my team had grown. I realized I was getting a lot of joy out of coaching them. And the other reason why I chose impact was because I saw how many people were losing their jobs. It bothered me. I started thinking about the disadvantaged people. And I said, who is doing something for them? Okay? For those of us here who watch the news, every so often we would watch the news and we would see persons with disabilities have been locked up in their homes when everybody has gone to work. They're treated so badly. And they're treated so badly because I think in the African context, we don't understand. It doesn't make sense to us. On top of that, I lost my husband who suffered from personality disorder 10 years ago. And we didn't know what to do with him. We just didn't know, We had nowhere to go. And I would ask him, what can I do to help you? He'd say, I don't know. I need to help myself, but I don't know how to help myself. So I've always had this spirit or this hurt in myself where I'm like, I have to help and do something. Give people hope. Give people hope. Give people an opportunity. Don't judge somebody based on what you see or what you think before you give them a chance. And that's what made my decision. When I met you, I listened to your story and I could not stop thinking about StepWise and DAPREP. And I kept on saying, what can I do? What can I do? And I talked to my friends about it. I was so moved and passionate and about what you guys were doing. And I said, I have to get to a point where I do something with these people. Hence my reaching out, And in fact, it was not even a real reach out. I mean, Carla and I were just having a discussion, And I just said, listen, if you have anything exciting, let's talk. And I felt that I'd reached a point where I had to pivot from CIO Africa. Because if I'm talking about creating opportunities for other people or telling people to change every 3 to 5 years, young folks, if I stay in that job for 10 years, how am I creating an opportunity for them? I need to move out for them to have an opportunity, right? So I have moved out for somebody else to have the opportunity and to get the opportunity to grow the way I did. Because it was a great platform for me. Why not have somebody else enjoy the platform and grow and have impact like I did? So next stage in my life is to also come into an environment where you have impact. And for me, transform lives. Transform lives. Because they say you transform the life of one woman, the whole village is transformed or the whole family is transformed. Now, can you imagine transforming the life of one woman, one person with disability, and one youth in a village? That's a whole town transformed. And the only way you can scale, if you're going to do this transformation, is through technology.
Right. Well, honestly, I don't know where else to go from there. It's an amazing tale, and I'm thrilled that I get to be a part of watching what skills you didn't know you had suddenly emerge on stage. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris. It's been a pleasure.